Hello everyone, EtherSong here, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the Gloom Stalker subclass for the Ranger. To start, we're going to be looking at what type of subclass it is, and then we're going to be looking at some potential builds and multi-classing for it. So let's get started. To begin, the Gloom Stalker is a subclass of the Ranger that you can choose at level 3. To put it simply, it is something like a stealth archer. Starting at level 3, you get the Dread Ambusher ability. At 3rd level, you master the art of the ambush. You can give yourself a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. At the start of your first turn of each combat, your walking speed is increased by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of the turn. If you take an attack action on that turn, you can make one additional weapon attack as part of that action. If that attack hits, the target takes an extra 1d8 damage of the weapon's damage type. So this is really an amazing ability. Your first turn of combat is going to be explosive. You're going to be able to do a lot of damage, move around a lot. So it's just a wonderful skill to have. Continuing on, we also have the Umbral Sight ability. So let's take a look at this. At 3rd level, you gain dark vision out to a range of 60 feet. If you already have dark vision from your race, its range increases by 30 feet. You're also adept at evading creatures that rely on dark vision. While in darkness, you are invisible to any creature that relies on dark vision to see you in the darkness. So this is, once again, an amazing ability. So you get the dark vision ability, so you'll be able to see in the dark, but also other creatures that have that are not able to see you in the dark. So you're basically invisible. You're like a Batman in the night there, where you just sort of pop out of the darkness and can attack people. Continuing on, at 7th level, you get the Iron Mind ability. By 7th level, you have honed your ability to resist mind-altering powers of your prey. You gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. If you already have this proficiency, you instead gain proficiency in intelligence or charisma saving throws. So this is once again great to have. And then at 11th level, we get Stalker's Flurry. At 11th level, you learn to attack with such unexpected speed that you can turn a miss into another strike. Once on each of your turns, when you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack as part of the same action. So if you end up missing, you can turn that into an attack, basically another attack, which is wonderful to have. So all the abilities we see here, the features of the class, are wonderful to have, and it's really all around looking to be a wonderful class to play. So let's jump into the game and look at some potential ways to start this class out. So what would be the best race and other things like that. So here we go. We're going to be starting here. I have a Wood Elf created. So I think the Wood Elf is going to be best for the Gloom Stalker to start out for. It has Dexterity +2 and Wisdom +1. We know as a Ranger, you're going to be wanting Dexterity for your range attacks and Wisdom for your spells. So that's perfect to have, and it gives us pluses to both of those, right? In addition, we can get a Longbow proficiency, which helps out. We also get Dark Vision already, so we're going to get that boosted by the Umbral Sight most likely. And then we also have the Fey Ancestry, something that can be added along as well that makes it so we can't be put to sleep. So that's wonderful to have as well. In addition, this race also has a good base speed, so you can move around quite a bit, and you get a proficiency in stealth. So all around great things to have for a archer kind of class. Moving on, we have the class to select. You're going to start with a Ranger. At 3rd level, you'll be able to choose Gloom Stalker, so we don't get that yet, but we do get some choices at the beginning here. So we have Favorite Enemy and Natural Explorer. So for Favorite Enemy, I'm leaning towards the Bounty Hunter. It seems like a good ability to have, but you can choose whichever one you think fits best, whichever one you like best. You're probably not going to need the Ranger Knight, because I don't think you're going to be in heavy armor very much in stealth, but you basically choose whatever you like best. Moving on to Natural Explorer, once again, you have some options here. I don't know if you'll need the Beast Tamer, things like that, but once again, you can choose things that you think fit your class best. I'm going to go with the Wasteland Wanderer Fire here, because you have spent endless days surviving Forbidden Deserts. You gain resistance to fire damage, taking only half damage from it. And knowing, Larian games, there's going to be a lot of fire going on, most likely in the game, probably fire fields all over, and you're probably going to run into fire at some point. So taking only half damage from fire seems very strong, and I think that's a good way to start out. Continuing on, we can look at the skills here. Currently, this is what I have. So going along with skills, you can also choose an origin. I think there are 2 origins that are good to go with the Ranger here. You could go with either Charlatan. I like this because it gives you the sleight of hand proficiency, so you can get better at sleight of hand, and also the deception if you need it. Otherwise, an Entertainer can give you acrobatics proficiency. So whichever one you think is best, go with it. Other ones, I don't think you'll need animal handling. Athletics, you might not need as much, so it's really up to you what you do with these other ones. But trying to get as many as you can is good to do. And keep in mind that you already get stealth from the Wood Elf. You get perception from the Wood Elf. So you get some other things already to start out with, and you get these choices here as part of the race. For the abilities, we have strength reduced. So I'm going to be taking out points out of strength, and we have dexterity as high as it can be. Constitution at 14, so you get a good amount of health. Intelligence reduced, and then wisdom at 16. So I have wisdom a little bit higher because, as you know, with the Gloom Stalker, you can apply your wisdom modifier here to your initiative. So having a little bit more wisdom, having it 16 here gives me a +3 compared to, if it was lower, I would only be at +2. So I get a little bit more initiative to start out the battle. So I'm going to be going first more often. If you do not like having some -1 in some of your stats, you could always take out a couple points from wisdom, start around 14, and bring these back up to 10. So that's up to you, because we can look at all the things that these things apply to. Dexterity is going to be giving us bonuses to acrobatics, sleight of hand, and stealth, which is great. Wisdom, we got a lot of bonuses here for insight, medicine, perception, and survival. Strength is only affecting athletics, but it also affects some other things, such as how much you can carry and how far you can jump. So if you're worried about how much you can carry, that could be something to be aware of. And intelligence, there are some things that intelligence applies to. So if you want to be doing some of these checks, perhaps you want to raise the stats up. So just keep that in mind. I personally am probably going to be going with these stats here. Next, let's talk about multiclassing. For multiclassing, you're most likely going to want to do that once you reach level 5 as the Gloom Stalker. The reason for this is at level 5, you're going to get an extra attack, so you don't want to put that off. An extra attack means you can attack one more time a turn, and that's pretty important. But once you get to level 5, you can start looking at multiclassing if that's something you want to do. There are a couple classes that are very often used to multiclass with the Gloom Stalker. To start, you have the Rogue. As you know, it can do sneak attacks, but at level 3, the Rogue can go to an Assassin subclass. Now, this Assassin pairs very well with the Gloom Stalker. Let's look at the Assassin's ability here. The Assassin has the feature Assassinate. And starting at level 3, you are at your deadliest when you have the drop on your enemies. You have advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. In addition, any hit you score against a creature that is surprised is a critical hit. So as we can see here, this pairs very well with the Gloom Stalker since they're able to go first in combat more often, and they are also getting extra attacks at the beginning of combat. So they can get extra attacks, and then you're going to be able to turn those into basically stealth attacks and also you can do guaranteed critical hits. So all around, Assassin pairs very well with the Gloom Stalker, so that's one to take note of. Another class that pairs very well with the Gloom Stalker is the Fighter. At level 2, you get the Action Surge ability. So starting at level 2, you can push yourself beyond your normal limits for a moment. On your turn, you can take one additional action on top of your regular action and a possible bonus action. The reason why this is so important is that the Gloom Stalker gets a lot of benefits on the first turn of combat, and you can increase your number of attacks one more time again, so you can apply the Gloom Stalker benefits, and if you have the Assassin there as well, you can apply the Assassin benefits once again to your first turn of combat, so you're going to have an explosive start to the combat and be able to take out probably some important enemies pretty quickly, and it'll make combat go a lot more smoother. If you're looking to go to the next level for Fighter, you can bring it up to level 3 and take the Battle Master class. This is important because then you can get maneuvers from it that are very useful to use in battle. Keep in mind that when you multi-class, it's not just gaining things, but you're also losing what you could be getting in your base class. So in this case, the Ranger. So you need to keep in mind what you're going to be gaining and what you're going to be losing, weigh the pros and cons, and then you can decide which direction you want to go. So if you want to multi-class, that's an option. But if you just want to stick with the Gloom Stalker, the Ranger Gloom Stalker as your main class, that's totally fine. And that can be very powerful as well. So let's look at the Ranger here and look at some of the benefits it gets from just being a Ranger. At level 6, you get Favored Enemy and Natural Explorer improvements, is great. At level 7, you get a Ranger archetype feature. This includes things from the Gloom Stalker class. In this case, you get Iron Mind. As we talked about before, it can be great because you get proficiency for wisdom saving throws. And you're going to have a decent amount of wisdom on this class. Then at level 8 on Ranger, you get the Land Stride ability, which means moving through non-magical difficult terrain costs no extra movement. You can also pass through non-magical plants without being slowed by them and without taking damage from them if they have thorns, spines, or similar hazard. In addition, you have advantage on saving throws against plants that are magically created or manipulated to impede movement, such as those created by the Entangle spell. So this allows you to move a lot more freely through various terrains, which can be very useful for a class. At level 9, the Gloom Stalker gets the Fear spell, which allows you to project a phantasmal image of a creature's worst fears, and each creature within a 30-foot cone must succeed a wisdom saving throw or drop whatever it is holding and become frightened for duration. So that's a great spell to have. Continuing on, at level 10, we get another Natural Explorer improvement, and then we also get Hide in Plain Sight. Hide in Plain Sight states that, starting at level 10, you can spend 1 minute creating camouflage for yourself. You must have access to fresh mud, dirt, plants, soot, or other naturally occurring materials to create your camouflage. Once camouflaged in this way, you can hide by pressing yourself up against a solid surface, such as a tree or a wall, that is at least as tall and wide as you, and you gain a +10 bonus to dexterity stealth checks as long as you remain there without moving or taking actions. Once you move or take an action or reaction, you must camouflage yourself again to gain the benefit. So we don't know exactly how this is going to translate to Baldur's Gate 3, but this also seems like a very powerful stealth mechanic to have if you're looking to do stealth type of gameplay. Moving on to level 11, we once again get the Gloom Stalker's Stalker's Flurry ability, which allows you to re-roll your misses, which can be a great thing to have and allow you to hit a lot more of your attacks. And then at level 12, we get another ability score improvement. Now, these ability score improvements are important for two main reasons. First of all, these ability score improvements allow you to increase one ability by a point. So for example, you could bring dexterity from 17 to 18 or things like that. And these are acquired normally every 4 levels. So at 4th level Ranger, you get it. At 8th level Ranger, you'd get it. And at 12th level of Ranger, you get these ability score improvements. In addition to ability score improvements, you also get feats, which are very important, and I'll cover a little bit more in a moment. But one thing I would like to note is that by multi-classing, it is possible to miss out on some of these ability score improvements. In particular, as you only get these at 4, 8, and 12 normally, if you multi-class at starting at level 5 with the Gloom Stalker, you could only bring another class up to 4 and one more class up to 3. This means you'd only be getting 2 ability score improvements compared to a pure ranger going up to level 12 that could get 3. So that is another trade-off to be aware of. Returning to the feats, as I stated, when you get an ability score improvement, you also get a feat. For the Gloom Stalker, there are 2 main feats to be aware of. The first one is Sharpshooter. You have mastered ranged weapons and can make shots that others find impossible. You gain the following benefits. Attacking at a long range doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attack rolls. Your ranged weapon ignore 1/2 and 3/4 cover, and before you make an attack with a ranged weapon that you are proficient with, you can take a -5 penalty to the attack roll. If the attack hits, you gain +10 to the attack's damage. So it allows you to attack at a longer range without penalty, and also you can increase the damage of the attack quite a bit, so this is a very powerful feat. One more feat that is often paired with the Gloom Stalker is the Crossbow Expert. Thanks to extensive practice with the crossbow, you gain the following benefits. You ignore the loading quality of crossbows with which you are proficient. Being within 5 feet of a hostile creature doesn't impose disadvantage on your ranged attacks. When you use the attack action and attack with a one-handed weapon, you can use a bonus action to attack with a hand crossbow you are holding. Now how this is normally used is you use this with a crossbow, you shoot them once, and then you can shoot them again as a bonus action. Now this is very important with the Gloom Stalker because getting more attacks at being in combat means you can trigger the Gloom Stalker's Dread Ambusher ability more. Returning to that once more, it says if you take the attack action on the first turn of combat, you can make one additional weapon attack as part of that action. And if that attack hits, the target takes an extra 1d8 damage of the weapon's damage type. So that means if we take an attack action on that turn, we can take an additional attack. So basically the number of attacks we can get can be basically doubled because of the Dread Ambusher ability. So getting any more attacks from, for example, Action Surge or the Crossbow Expert is very useful to the Gloom Stalker. Now, if you prefer bow over crossbow, that's a matter of preference. It seems like the crossbows are very powerful in the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition rules because of this crossbow expert, but the bow is a viable option as well, and in that case you wouldn't take the crossbow expert and perhaps you would just start with the sharpshooter skill. And that is a basic overview of the Gloom Stalker, some potential builds for the Gloom Stalker for multiclassing, and a look at some of the advantages versus disadvantages to multiclassing as well. Let me know what you think of the Gloom Stalker in the comments and if you're looking forward to Baldur's Gate 3. And until next time, see you later. Bye!